What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. This is, of course, the Truzz the Bank podcast. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, we appreciate you for listening on there. Make sure to leave a review and make sure to follow so you get notified. We're trying to do 2 episodes a week, weekend and Wednesday-ish typically. And if you're watching this on YouTube, this is the first segment of the episode. The next couple of days, the other segments will come out. But if you want the full thing, go check out the podcast platforms. You can listen to it or watch it on Spotify. They have videos now in its entirety. But some pretty big news, I would say, came out today that I really wasn't expecting, and that's regarding the Minnesota Vikings because they've retooled their defense. They ended up getting rid of some of their larger name players, and now apparently they're fielding offers or they're listening to offers. He's not on the trade block, but they're listening to offers for Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter is one of the best edge rushers in the NFL and could be an instant impact player for any team that he ends up going to. So Joshua, this is a position we talked about, edge rusher.
Very true.
What do you think about, trying to go after a guy like Danielle Hunter, or like what would you be willing to give up for somebody like that?
Man, Danielle Hudson's had a great career in the NFL. I feel like he could definitely, bring a spark to what we're doing here in Baltimore because at the end of the day, we are trying to be a contending team and not a pretender type of team. And what would I give up for him, though? It won't be picks. So, honestly, I probably won't give up anything. For the simple fact that I do, value our picks. Yes, sometimes if you all been with us for as long as we've been going, and y'all seen our reaction videos, yes, we've had mad moments, happy moments, frustrated moments. But at the end of the day, most of the picks that EDC has made has worked out. So I like for us to continuously get younger on both sides of the ball. Because I'm still, I don't know what the cap space still look like anyway for us since we brought in the former first round pick, Laquan Treadwell. But I'm still on the Yannick Ngakwe train, and even a reunion with Justin Houston. Even if Tuck wants to come back, and have him for a full season, I'm open to that. So even though the name sounds pretty, I am a Baltimore Ravens fan. I'm a realist of how we move with our funds, and we don't always go after the big names. I know you see it on Twitter, McConnell, where if a guy gets released or a guy is supposed to be traded, hey, it's always someone from the Ravens flock. I'm not going to call out no Twitter names. I'm not going to do that. Hey, but they'll throw up the picture and say, hey guys, what you think of him? And and immediately somebody said yes, or somebody says no. Oh, we don't have the cap space for it. So, in EDC we trust. I'm going to trust the front office, and I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going to stay away from, fielding that conversation of possibly trade away picks. I like what we got here. The only people, like I said, I would add is a Yannick Ngakwe or even Justin Houston, maybe even Justin Tuck.
Yeah, I think that's very fair when you're looking at a guy like Danielle Hunter, because he's only got 1 year left on his deal. He is somebody, if you guys are unfamiliar with his game, he's a 3-time Pro Bowler. Those are all in the last 4 seasons. He's a sack machine, 10.5 sacks last year. The year before he got hurt, 6 sacks. But then 2 consecutive years before that, 14.5 sacks. I believe he was a second team All-Pro in 2018. He was 5th in Defensive Player of the Year in 2019, and he was voted on for Comeback Player of the Year last year. Wasn't really anywhere close to the top, but he was a Pro Bowler. He's a sack guy. He is an every down type of pass rusher, and that's something that obviously is valuable. But if you're looking at it from the fan of the Ravens, or you're looking at it from the Ravens organization perspective, how do you use that? Because we have other players.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he is absolutely an upgrade over every single player on that defensive line. I'm not going to argue with anybody about that.
for sure.
But how much are the Ravens going to be willing to trade in order to get a player that then throws, one of your younger assets that you believe in more to the bench role? And that would be Odafe Oweh, I believe. And so, like, for me, I will say I would make the trade, but I wouldn't give up, astronomical amounts to try and pull it off. Because in my opinion, there is a lot of interest in him. And Dov Kleiman, who, he takes everybody's stuff. He got it from Rap Sheet, so I'm using Rap Sheet. It's pretty serious interest in him, and he's only set to make $5.5 million this year. That is a very different situation from the DeAndre Hopkins, because DeAndre Hopkins, the problem was, okay, he's supposed to make a ton of money this year, so the contending teams weren't going to be able to pay him. So it was like, okay, in reality, nobody's going to trade for him, which guess what? Nobody traded for him because nobody could pay him, or none of the teams that wanted him would be able to pay him. But $5.5 million, teams can pay that. And he plays at a premier position. And so, like, I feel like he's going to go for a lot more than the Ravens are going to be willing to give up. Because I see him, I don't think he's as good as Roquan Smith, and the Ravens traded a second-round pick for Roquan. He's 28 years old. He's a very good player. Again, I'm not trying to disrespect him at all. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the NFL. But I'd trade a third rounder for him, and I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's the type of deal that gets it done. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a second rounder. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for young assets or multiple picks to try and get it done, because the team wants that star pass rusher on their defense, right? Maybe it's a team like the Buffalo Bills. Maybe it's a team like the Kansas City Chiefs.
I was thinking them.
What was that?
I was thinking that Kansas City makes the move because Leonard Floyd went to Buffalo. Just got picked up.
Yeah. Buffalo did just get Leonard Floyd. They could have, if they wanted, they could go after Danielle Hunter as well. But now that I forgot they had Leonard Floyd, so probably not them. But again, they would have the money. Like, it's not difficult to make $5 million cap space. It's difficult to make $15 million. And a lot of teams would do that for a guy like Danielle Hunter. And it's just like, I feel like there's a chance, like, he could very well re-sign with the Minnesota Vikings, but it's not like they're trying to openly trade him, which is very different from DeAndre Hopkins, where it was, please take DeAndre Hopkins, and nobody would. And now it's like, if you guys play fantasy football, when your buddy hits you up and they're like, hey, I want to trade for this guy, you're like, send me an offer. And then they said, no, you send me an offer. And I'm like, I'm not sending you an offer. I don't want to get rid of this guy. I'm not trying to get rid of him. If you blow me away, I'll send him over. Because the Vikings are trying to contend. This is not a team that is tanking like the Arizona Cardinals. So, would I do it? Yes. But I don't think I would do it for the amount that gets it done. And that's the issue. I think he goes for a second-round pick if he ends up getting dealed at all.
And that's the thing, it got to be a trade and bait situation for the simple fact, like, he's, like you say, he's a premier guy at a premier position, and he's playing at a high clip. So it's like, what team is that desperate to give up some either younger assets or some more pieces? Because, like you said, Minnesota is building. Shout out to them. They did get Hendon Hooker to be the future. Kirk Cousins, count your days out there, buddy. So I don't know, man. I just when I'm trying to wrap my mind around it, I don't know who I would give up. I love JK, but they need to run a bet. JK, a third. Am I willing to pull the trigger? No. But that seems like the most Okay, JK a third, and since every Ravens fan I see on Twitter talk about trading PQ, and because even though they haven't seen a lick of Trenton Simpson in the NFL yet, I would have to put Trenton. I will put Patrick Queen and JK in the third in that trade package. That's the only way. That's the only way I feel like the Ravens can get it done. Um, do I think Minnesota will possibly bite on it? Yeah, they need a running back. I don't know what the linebacker position out there look like, but
they just lost Michael Kendricks, who's one of the best linebackers in the NFL. So it's like they may bite at something like that, but it's like, are the Ravens willing to trade their starting running back, their starting middle linebacker, and a pick next year?
you got to.
Probably not.
I mean, but it's those two guys that's going to be up for contracts. Especially if I'll jump on the bandwagon later if we're doing good. I'll see when the regular season starts. But if we make it to the Super Bowl and win, because we all know that not every Super Bowl team is kept together. We've seen that. So yeah, man, it's definitely interesting. I'm looking forward to see how that storyline plays out throughout the summer and even into the regular season.